This is Gary. I want to show you a little trick on rolling here. A lot of people are under the misconception that, and you'll read this in magazines or self-help books, and it's always talking about how you make a letter X like that, or an M, or whatever. And I would just say that that's completely bogus. Don't use the letter anything. Just simply go straight into the wall like this. And none of this side-to-side movement, but just go straight in and spread this stuff out initially, and then kind of go back over it to smooth it all out. But if you start trying to do this, you know, if you want a good workout, maybe if you didn't go to the gym this morning or something, or you want to work through a bleach or something like that, then you can make any letter you want, but you'll just wear yourself out, and it'll take you 10 times longer. And really, you can only go about 2 full, maybe 2.5 full roller widths every dip. You can push it, you can force it to go farther, but you're just going to simply put the paint on too thin, especially on a deal like this where you have fresh texture. All that mud's going to soak that paint up. It needs plenty of paint, and you'll end up what's called dry rolling it, and it's just not the way to go. You'll just never get it filled up, and so you need to get plenty on there. I've got a really large roller here. This is that Purdy Colossus, not just the Colossus fabric, but the old one that's even bigger. So I'm putting tons of paint on this thing, and it's just crazy to try to use the letter M or Y or X or Z or whatever. You'll wear yourself out. Here's another little roller tip. You know, I've got, if you'll notice, I've got 9-inch paper down here at the baseboard, 9 inches wide, that I put with my masking machine, and I've got my drop cloths running underneath there. And I'm able to catch most all 90+% of my paint drips on that paper. You can see I got a little messy right there. Not too bad, but my drop's going underneath there, so there's very little that gets on my drop. I don't really care for that because it's just really there for emergency. Because if you get a big fat drop down there and you step on it and you step off the drop, guess where the paint's going to go? And so if you'll notice that, also I'm rolling out of a 5-gallon bucket, and I've got that 5-gallon bucket just sitting right next to the paper. So there's very little chance that I'm even going to get any paint on the drop. If I do, it'll just be a small amount. But again, using this 5-gallon bucket with a roller screen, there's a screen that, luckily, it fits right in there, and your screens that fit 1-gallon buckets as well. And I can dip that in there and get plenty of paint. Because I just think that, you know, using a pan, I mean, here I am rolling this room. It's 18 foot by 21 foot or 23. Oh, goodness, that's a lot of rolling. And if you're just using a pan, I think that would cause you to tend to starve the paint. You just really can't get that much on your roller at a time. That pan is really easy to drop. You know, you start sitting on top of that so you can reach it better, or that. And it's just very top heavy, and that thing's not going anywhere there. And of course there's only like a gallon or so, a gallon and a half of paint in the bottom of it. And you just don't tend to starve the wall with paint. Because you can look down that wall, and I rolled that 5 minutes ago. Well, there's not any, there are spots that are dull. I mean, it's all consistently wet. There's not any big old heavy slurpy spots in it or nothing. It's just got a thin, wet, full coat of paint over that entire wall surface. It's not, you know, I don't dip it and then start up here and there's this big wad up there, or just this big old heavy spot there, and then down there it's kind of thin. No, it's all completely evenly applied and not splotchy. It's not, you can just tell by the way it's dry in there that it was evenly applied, and it's just not irregular. So, but again, this is just something that's really invaluable. I sometimes roll out of a roller pan, but very, very rarely. If it'd be like a touch-up thing or on doing a sample. But if I'm rolling a whole room, then I'm going to be using out of a 5-gallon bucket, and I'm going to have, you know, a frame that's not a cheap frame. This frame itself probably costs $12 or $15, and that's beefy. It's not going to bend and, you know, and flip around. You're going to really be able to use that thing. In the same way that handle, that thing's not flimsy, so you can really do a good job instead of just trying to make 1 gallon of paint stretch out for this whole room and then wondering why it didn't really cover and it really won't touch up. You know, this is the better way to do it. So that's just another little tip. Here's a tip for cleaning up your roller. If you use a lamb's wool, that's always better. Anything's better than the polyester. Polyesters are terrible. This is a special roller from Purdy, the Colossus, and this fabric is really great. It doesn't hardly sling any paint at all, but if you're going to clean up a roller, you have absolutely got to do this first. You can use a putty knife, you can use a stir stick. They make special 5-in-1 tools that'll fit right in here, but you can just see there's a monstrous amount of paint still in this roller. And even if you rolled it out as thin as you could on the wall, which I didn't do, there's still going to be some in there. But if you'll just do this first and just really rake it out of there, then you'll just do most of the work right there. And then I always wash them up outside. I'd rather have freezing cold water in a spigot outside than warm water in the sink. It just seems like it makes a big mess in the sink. I don't like doing that. So I always prefer the faucet outside. But if you don't scrape that off like that, you'll never get it clean. And if it's polyester, it could take days.